The quantum beacon pulsed once, twice, then died with a final, feeble flicker. Admiral Sarah Chen stared at the device, her weathered face illuminated by the emergency lights of the Terran vessel Hyperion. 20 years of space exploration had taught her to expect the unexpected, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "They're coming through," Lieutenant Park announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Signal strength at maximum. The bridge crew held their breath as the quantum communicator hummed to life. Instead of the usual static-filled transmission, a crystal-clear image materialized, a being of silvery membrane and flowing tentacles, its bioluminescent organs pulsing with an almost hypnotic rhythm. "I am Elder Viserion of the Galactic Confederation." The aliens' thoughts resonated directly in their minds. "And we need humanity's help." Sarah's hand instinctively went to the neural dampener at her temple. Standard issue for all space personnel after first contact revealed that most alien species communicated telepathically. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. We're receiving you clearly." "Admiral," the Elder's tentacles rippled with what Sarah had learned to recognize as distress, "we face extinction. The Void Hunters have awakened." The bridge temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Even Sarah, who prided herself on maintaining composure, felt a chill run down her spine. The Void Hunters were supposed to be a myth, ancient beings that fed on consciousness itself. "Our sensors detected their emergence from deep space," Viserion continued. "They've already consumed 3 systems. Our weapons passed through them. Our shields mean nothing. But your species," the Elder's voice carried a note of desperate hope, "your neural patterns are different, unique among all known species." Sarah exchanged glances with her XO, Commander David Okafor. They both knew what the Elder meant. Humanity's emergence into the galactic community had been marked by surprise, not at their technology, which was relatively primitive, but at their brains. Evolution on Earth, with its powerful magnetic field and constant electromagnetic storms, had given humans neural architecture unlike anything else in known space. "The Void Hunters can't process your consciousness," Viserion explained. "To them, your minds are like static, impenetrable. You're the only species they can't feed on. And you want us to fight them," Sarah stated, not a question but a confirmation. "We need you to save us all." The Elder's thought voice was heavy with emotion. "The Confederation offers everything we have. Our technology, our knowledge, our resources. Help us, please." Sarah felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming of first contact, imagining themselves either the conquerors or the conquered. Instead, they had found themselves to be something entirely different, potential saviors. "Send us everything you have on these Void Hunters," she said finally. "I'll need to consult with Earth Command, but..." She straightened in her chair. "Humanity stands ready to help." As the transmission ended, David turned to her. "You know what this means. Everything we thought was a disadvantage. Our primitive neural structure, our limited telepathic abilities, turns out to be our greatest strength," Sarah finished. She looked out at the star-filled viewport, where the quantum beacon's light had faded to nothing. "Alert all ships in the sector. We're about to show the galaxy why Earth's harsh conditions made us exactly what they need." The news spread across Earth's colonies and outposts like wildfire. Humanity, often viewed as the galactic newcomers, with their primitive direct speech and crude electromagnetic shielding, were suddenly the last hope of the Confederation. Training centers activated across the globe as humans began preparing for a war unlike any they had fought before. In the weeks that followed, Sarah found herself at the center of an unprecedented mobilization. The Confederation's data confirmed their worst fears. The Void Hunters were ancient consciousness-consuming entities that had last emerged millions of years ago, driving several species to extinction before returning to their deep space slumber. "They're not just energy beings," Dr. Maya Patel, the Hyperion's chief xenobiologist, explained during a briefing. "Their consciousness in its purest form. They consume other conscious beings by synchronizing with and absorbing their neural patterns. But human brains, she displayed a hologram of human neural architecture. We're like white noise to them. Our electromagnetic evolution made us naturally shielded. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. For years, other species had regarded humans as disadvantaged, their minds too chaotic for proper telepathic communion. Now that very chaos might save the galaxy. As the Hyperion prepared to join the gathering defense fleet, Sarah received one final transmission from Earth Command. Admiral, Fleet Marshal Rodriguez's hologram flickered in her ready room. You understand the gravity of this situation. Humanity's first major role in galactic affairs will be as protectors, not conquerors, Sarah finished. Just as it should be. The Marshal nodded. Show them what Earth taught us. Show them why evolution on a world of storms made us strong. As the Hyperion engaged its drives, Sarah watched Earth shrink in the viewport. They were about to prove that humanity's greatest perceived weakness was actually their greatest strength. The galaxy was about to learn why being forged on a primitive world had prepared them for this moment. The war against the Void Hunters was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why Earth's harsh lessons had made them exactly what was needed to face this threat. Their primitive minds were about to become the shield that saved conscious life itself. The Hyperion's command center hummed with activity as holographic displays showed the approaching Void Hunter swarm. Admiral Chen watched as the ethereal beings twisted through space, their forms defying conventional physics. They moved like oil on water, spreading across the stars in patterns that hurt the eyes to follow. Energy signature analysis complete, Dr. Patil announced, her dark eyes fixed on the readings scrolling across her station. They're unlike anything we've encountered, but there's something familiar about their base frequency. Commander Okafor leaned forward, his broad shoulders tense. Familiar how? It matches Earth's electromagnetic field during solar storms, Maya replied, bringing up a comparative analysis. The same kind of chaotic patterns that shaped our neural evolution. We didn't just develop resistance to them. We developed in parallel with similar energy patterns. Sarah felt a piece of the puzzle click into place. That's why we're immune. Our brains evolved handling these kinds of energy patterns. We're not just shielded, we're adapted. The revelation spread through the bridge crew like a wave. Humanity had spent generations wondering why Earth was so much harsher than other inhabited worlds. Now they were beginning to understand. Their world hadn't just been preparing them for survival, but for this specific threat. A signal chimed, and Elder Viserian's image appeared on the main screen. The alien's tentacles were agitated, their usual silvery sheen dulled with stress. Admiral, the Void Hunters have changed course. They're heading toward the Centauri colonies. Sarah's jaw tightened. The Centauri system held humanity's oldest and largest off-world settlements. They're testing us, seeing if we're really different. We've evacuated as many as we could, Viserian continued, but there are still millions of non-human refugees in those systems. If the hunters reach them, they won't, Sarah stated firmly. She turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Park, status of the neural pulse generators. Online and calibrated. Admiral, Dr. Patel's modifications are holding steady. The neural pulse generators were a hybrid of human and Confederation technology, designed to amplify and project human neural patterns. In theory, they could create a barrier that the Void Hunters couldn't penetrate. In practice, they were about to find out. All ships, battle stations, Sarah commanded. The Hyperion and its sister ships moved into formation, their human crews ready for humanity's first major engagement as galactic defenders. The Void Hunters approached like a storm front, their ethereal forms dimming the very stars behind them. Sarah felt a pressure in her mind, like the precursor to a migraine, but her neural dampener held firm. Enemy contact in 30 seconds, Park announced. Neural pulse generators at full power. Sarah took a deep breath, remembering her childhood in Singapore during the great electromagnetic storms. The sky would turn green and purple, and the air itself would crackle with energy. Those same conditions that had shaped humanity's evolution were about to prove their worth. "Fire neural pulses on my mark," she ordered. The Void Hunters were close enough now to see individual forms, vast, shifting patterns of consciousness that had consumed entire civilizations. But they had never encountered minds forged in Earth's electromagnetic crucible. Mark. The neural pulse generators activated simultaneously across the human fleet. Waves of energy, patterned after human neural architecture, rippled through space. Where they met the Void Hunters, reality itself seemed to shudder. The effect was immediate and stunning. The Void Hunters recoiled, their forms dispersing like smoke in a strong wind. They tried to reform, but the neural pulses kept them fragmented, unable to maintain cohesion in the face of humanity's chaotic mental patterns. "It's working," Maya exclaimed, her fingers flying over her console. "The neural pulses are disrupting their consciousness patterns. They can't maintain stable forms in our presence." But the victory was short-lived. The Void Hunters began to adapt, shifting their patterns to try to bypass the human neural interference. One massive entity broke through the defensive line, heading straight for a refugee transport. "Divert all power to forward neural generators," Sarah ordered. The Hyperion surged forward, placing itself between the hunter and its prey. The ship's hull groaned as the enhanced neural pulse stressed its structural integrity. The Void Hunter struck their shields and shattered. Its consciousness pattern broke apart, dispersing into harmless energy that dissipated into space. "Analysis confirms total dissolution of the entity," Maya reported, her voice tight with controlled excitement. "Admiral, we didn't just block it. We destroyed it. Our neural patterns are actually fatal to them." The implications rocked through the bridge. Humanity hadn't just found a way to defend against the Void Hunters. They had discovered how to defeat them permanently. But victory came with a price. Warning lights flashed across engineering stations as the neural pulse generators strained the ship's systems. They couldn't maintain this level of output for long. "All ships, fall back to defensive positions," Sarah ordered. "We've proven the concept, but we need to refine our approach." She turned to Maya. "Doctor, I need options for sustainable neural pulse deployment." As the human fleet regrouped, Sarah watched the remaining Void Hunters retreat. They had won their first battle, but the war was far from over. Yet they had discovered something crucial. Earth's harsh conditions hadn't just made humanity strong. They had created exactly the weapon needed to fight this ancient enemy. The galaxy was about to learn that evolution on a primitive world had produced something extraordinary. The very forces that had made Earth seem harsh and dangerous had forged humanity into the perfect defenders against this cosmic threat. The breaking point hadn't broken them. It had made them exactly what they needed to be. The observation deck of Confederation Station Epsilon glowed with the light of 1,000 holographic displays. Admiral Chen stood at its center, surrounded by both human and alien scientists as Dr. Maya Patel presented their findings. "The neural pulse technology works," Maya explained, manipulating a complex three-dimensional model of human brain patterns, "but our ships can't sustain the energy output. We need a different approach." Elder Viserion floated closer, his tentacles weaving thoughtfully through the holographic display. "Perhaps we are thinking about this incorrectly. Instead of amplifying your neural patterns externally, we bring the fight to their level." Sarah finished, seeing where the Elder was going. "We need to project human consciousness directly." The room erupted in excited discussion. The Confederation's biotechnology experts had already been fascinated by human neural architecture. Now they saw an opportunity to use it in ways never before imagined. "It's possible," said Dr. Crix, a crystalline being whose faceted body sparkled with internal light. "We could adapt our consciousness projection technology to work with human neural patterns. Instead of trying to shield against the Void Hunters, we become the weapon," Maya concluded. Her fingers danced across the controls, bringing up new simulations. A human mind, properly projected, could disrupt their consciousness patterns directly. Sarah studied the projections, remembering the way the Void Hunters had shattered when exposed to human neural patterns. "How many volunteers would you need?" "That's the challenge," Maya replied. "We'd need humans with exceptionally strong electromagnetic tolerance. People who grew up in Earth's most energetically active regions. Like Singapore during storm season," Sarah said softly, thinking of her childhood home. The next few weeks saw the station transform into a hybrid of laboratory and training facility. Hundreds of human volunteers arrived, each chosen for their unique neural characteristics. They were people who had grown up in Earth's electromagnetic hotspots, the children of solar observatories, deep-sea researchers, and high-altitude settlements. Commander Okafor coordinated the training program, working closely with Confederation specialists to merge human resilience with alien technology. "It's like learning to swim," he explained to a group of volunteers, "but instead of water, you're immersing yourself in pure consciousness." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. During a routine training session, a young volunteer named Raj Kumar, who had grown up in a Himalayan research station, discovered he could not only project his consciousness, but shape it into defensive patterns. "It's like the magnetic fields back home," Raj explained, his eyes bright with excitement. "During the solar maxima, we could see the energy patterns in the sky. I just remembered those patterns and reproduced them." Sarah watched as Raj demonstrated, his projected consciousness forming shields and barriers that mimicked Earth's natural electromagnetic defenses. The Confederation scientists were astounded. Human minds weren't just resistant to the Void Hunters. They could actively replicate the very forces that had shaped their evolution. "We've been approaching this all wrong," Maya realized, reviewing the data. "We don't need to build better weapons. We need to teach our people to become living extensions of Earth's electromagnetic field." The training program shifted focus. Instead of trying to create artificial neural pulses, they began teaching humans to project and manipulate their natural electromagnetic patterns. The results were beyond anything they had hoped for. In a controlled test, a team of trained human consciousness projectors faced a contained fragment of a Void Hunter. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans' projected minds formed a perfect replica of Earth's magnetic field, creating a space that was completely hostile to the entity. "This is more than defense," Elder Vizarian observed, his tentacles rippling with excitement. "You're recreating the very conditions that shaped your species. You're turning space itself into an extension of Earth." Sarah felt a deep sense of pride as she watched the training sessions. Humanity had spent centuries feeling like they had drawn the short straw, evolving on a world that seemed unnecessarily harsh. Now they understood. Earth hadn't been hostile. It had been preparing them. But time was running out. Reports came in daily of Void Hunter attacks on the galaxy's outer systems. The Confederation's conventional defenses could only slow them down, and even that was becoming less effective as the Hunters adapted. "We're ready," Raj said one evening, speaking for all the train projectors. "We can do this." Sarah looked at the determined faces of her crew and the volunteers. They had started this journey thinking they were somehow lesser than other species, their minds too chaotic for proper telepathic communion. Now they understood that chaos was their greatest strength. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy why Earth's children are exactly what they need." As the combined Human Confederation fleet prepared for its next engagement, Sarah received a message from Earth. It was brief but powerful. "The storms that forged us will now save us all." The next battle would prove whether humanity's unique evolution would be enough to turn the tide against an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. The Void Hunters were about to learn why evolving on a world of storms had made humanity not just survivors, but guardians of consciousness itself. The void between stars rippled with unseen energy as the combined Human Confederation fleet approached the Horsehead Nebula. Inside the Hyperion's specially modified bridge, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with focused intensity. The Void Hunters had gathered here in unprecedented numbers, preparing for what intelligence suggested would be a massive push into populated space. Consciousness projectors report ready, Commander Okafor announced from his station. Throughout the fleet, hundreds of trained human volunteers waited in their projection chambers, their minds prepared to turn space itself into a weapon. Multiple hunter signatures detected. Lieutenant Park reported, his hands steady on the controls despite the tension. They're different, stronger, more organized. Sarah studied the readings. The Void Hunters had indeed evolved, their energy patterns showing complexity that hadn't been present in earlier encounters. They had learned from their defeats, adapting their consciousness to try to overcome human neural interference. They've been practicing, Maya observed from her science station, learning to resist our patterns, but they don't understand what they're really fighting against. The Admiral nodded. The hunters thought they were facing the simple defensive measure, not realizing that human consciousness was shaped by the very forces they were trying to overcome. All ships, battle formation Delta. Projector teams, prepare for synchronized deployment. The fleet moved with precision, taking positions that would maximize the coverage of their human consciousness projectors. Sarah felt a familiar pressure building in her mind. The Void Hunters were already trying to probe their defenses. Enemy formation approaching, Park announced. They're using a new configuration. Multiple layers, like they're trying to shield themselves from our neural patterns. Let them come, Sarah said quietly. Raj, is your team ready? Ready, Admiral. The young consciousness projector's voice came through clearly. All teams synchronized and prepared for full spectrum deployment. The Void Hunters struck first, sending waves of concentrated consciousness against the fleet's defenses. But instead of the standard shields, they encountered something new. A coordinated network of human minds, each projecting patterns learned from Earth's electromagnetic storms. Consciousness projection network active, Maya reported, monitoring the energy readings, replicating Earth's magnetic field dynamics at full strength. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The space around the fleet transformed, taking on the characteristics of Earth's most magnetically active regions. The Void Hunters' carefully constructed formations began to break apart, their consciousness patterns disrupted by the familiar yet deadly environment. They're trying to adapt, Park warned. Energy signatures shifting. They're attempting to match our frequency. Now, Sarah ordered, full projection, all teams. Across the fleet, hundreds of trained human minds reached out in perfect synchronization. They weren't just projecting static patterns anymore. They were recreating the dynamic, ever-changing electromagnetic environment that had shaped their species. The space around them became a storm of consciousness, as volatile and unpredictable as Earth's wildest magnetic disturbances. The Void Hunters recoiled, their collective consciousness fragmenting under the assault. They had evolved to consume ordered, predictable minds. The chaos of human neural patterns, multiplied and amplified through the projection network, was like acid to their very essence. Primary hunter formation is breaking up, Okafor reported. They're trying to retreat, but the consciousness field is preventing coherent movement. Sarah leaned forward, watching as the battle unfolded across multiple dimensions of reality. The hunters tried to regroup, to find some pattern in the chaos that they could exploit. But human consciousness, shaped by billions of years of evolution in Earth's electromagnetic crucible, was fundamentally incompatible with their existence. They're not just retreating, Maya realized, studying her readings. Their base consciousness patterns are destabilizing. We're not just driving them away. We're showing them that there are spaces in the universe where they fundamentally cannot exist. The realization spread through the fleet. Humanity hadn't just found a way to fight the Void Hunters. They had become living proof that consciousness could evolve to be naturally resistant to their influence. Every human mind was a testament to the possibility of independence from their threat. Multiple hunter signatures destabilizing, Park reported. The effect is spreading through their network. They're turning on each other, trying to find stable consciousness patterns to consume. Sarah watched as the mighty Void Hunter armada tore itself apart, unable to maintain coherence in the face of humanity's projected chaos. Centuries of feeling inferior due to their primitive neural structure had hidden a profound truth. They were the next step in the evolution of consciousness itself. "All ships, maintain position," she ordered. "Keep the projection field stable. Let them learn exactly why Earth's storms made us what we are." As the last of the Void Hunters fled or disintegrated, a deep silence fell over the battlefield. The combined fleet held position, human consciousness projectors maintaining their protective field until they were certain the threat had passed. "Signal from Elder Viserion," Park announced. "The Hunters are retreating across all sectors. Long-range sensors show them moving out of the galaxy entirely." Sarah stood at her command station, looking out at the space that had been transformed by human consciousness. They had done more than win a battle. They had proven that the very things that had made humanity feel isolated and different were actually their greatest contribution to the galaxy. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them that the storms that forged us have become the shield that protects us all." The message would mark more than just a victory. It would begin a new chapter in galactic history, where humanity's unique evolution would be understood not as a limitation, but as a glimpse of what consciousness could become when shaped by the forces of a truly challenging world. 1 year after the Battle of the Horsehead Nebula, the Great Hall of the Confederation's Central Station hummed with activity. Representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered to witness the inauguration of the new Galactic Defense Initiative. At its heart stood something that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago: a training academy for human consciousness projectors. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her dress uniform adorned with the newly created Defender's Star. Behind her, a massive window showed the swirling colors of the nearby nebula, its energies reminiscent of Earth's aurora borealis. "A century ago, humanity looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone," she began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber. "When we found we weren't, we questioned our place in the galaxy. Our world seemed too harsh, our minds too chaotic, our evolution too different. Now we understand why." The assembled delegates watched as holographic displays activated, showing the spread of consciousness projection centers across the galaxy, each one staffed by human trainers, teaching others to understand and work with the complex electromagnetic patterns that Earth had written into human DNA. "The Void Hunters haven't been seen since their retreat," Sarah continued, "but their existence taught us something profound about consciousness itself. Evolution isn't just about survival. It's about possibility." Dr. Maya Patel stepped forward, now wearing the insignia of the Confederation Science Council. "Our research has confirmed what we suspected," she addressed the gathering. "Earth's electromagnetic environment didn't just make us resistant to consciousness manipulation. It created a new form of neural architecture, one that shows consciousness can exist in states we never imagined possible." The evidence was undeniable. Human consciousness projectors had demonstrated abilities that went beyond simply disrupting the Void Hunters. They could create spaces where consciousness itself followed different rules, protected by the same chaotic patterns that had once made humans feel isolated from their galactic neighbors. Commander Okafor, standing with a group of new recruits, smiled as Raj Kumar demonstrated for a group of alien observers. The young projector created patterns in the air that mimicked Earth's magnetic fields, showing how consciousness could dance with energy in ways the galaxy had never seen before. "We're not just teaching defense," Raj explained to his fascinated audience. "We're showing how consciousness can evolve. Every world has its storms. We learn to dance with ours." Elder Viserion, now the head of the Confederation Council, moved forward. "For too long, we saw evolution on gentle worlds as the ideal. We sought peace through isolation from challenge. Earth showed us another way." The Elder's tentacles wove complex patterns as he spoke, a sign of deep emotion in his species. "The very forces we feared, the electromagnetic storms, the harsh conditions, the chaos of Earth's biosphere, these created exactly what the galaxy needed: not just to defend against the Void Hunters, but to show us the next step in our own evolution. Sarah watched as human and alien representatives mingled, sharing stories and ideas. The fear that had once separated them had been replaced by understanding. Earth's harsh conditions hadn't made humans inferior or primitive. They had created pioneers of consciousness itself. The new defense fleet launches next month, Maya said, joining Sarah by the window. Hybrid ships, designed to amplify both human consciousness projection and Confederation technology. They're calling it the Stormfront class. Sarah smiled at the name. Appropriate. We're not just defending against threats anymore. We're pushing the boundaries of what consciousness can be. The evidence of this new era was everywhere. Confederation scientists worked alongside human researchers, studying how Earth's electromagnetic patterns had shaped human neural evolution. New technologies emerged, based on the principles discovered through consciousness projection. The galaxy was changing, growing, evolving. They're requesting more training centers, Commander Okafor reported, reviewing the latest requests. Not just for defense, they want to understand how we think, how we process reality. They're calling it storm mind philosophy. The term brought a smile to Sarah's face, what had once been seen as a disadvantage. The chaos and unpredictability of human thought was now recognized as a crucial step in the evolution of consciousness itself. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah found herself back at the observation window, watching ships come and go against the backdrop of stars. Among them were the new hybrid vessels, their hulls incorporating patterns that mimicked Earth's magnetic fields. They were more than just ships. They were symbols of how humanity's perceived weaknesses had become the galaxy's greatest strength. "We thought we were alone," she said softly, "isolated by the very things that made us human. Instead, we were being prepared for something greater." Earth's storms had done more than forge a species capable of defeating the Void Hunters. They had created a new understanding of consciousness itself, showing the galaxy that evolution didn't have to follow predictable paths. Sometimes, the harshest conditions created exactly what was needed, not just for survival, but for transcendence. The legacy of Earth's storms would echo through the ages, not as a story of hardship, but as proof that the challenges that shape us can become the gifts we offer to the universe. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not despite their origins, but because of them. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the consciousness patterns of Earth's children danced like auroras, showing the way toward a future where the storms that forged them would light the way for all.